Good afternoon, sports fans. Anthony with BBSN, and wanted to give a channel update. I haven't been playing a lot of games recently because I've been working on games, most notably, of course, Glory Days Boxing, which is set to come out early next year. And also, after doing an alpha video of the well in the future Glory Days baseball game, I realized after watching the video back that the concept or the mechanics that I was hoping for really didn't look or come across the way I wanted them to on that video. So I actually kind of went back, thought a little bit deeper about the baseball game design, which has now changed 3 times as I kind of worked to create something unique, and kind of had an epiphany, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first, the boxing game. Currently close to entering the home stretch on that again. It'll be out early 2019, and I have bids out to some printers currently to get costs on printing the cards. And that in itself is going to be one of the main determining factors on how I release the game. I want to keep the price point manageable. You know, boxing is a niche sport, and the number of fighters obviously is not as great as multiple seasons of baseball, but and that the release will also have a smaller number of fighters than say you would get with a typical baseball type board game. But what I want to do with that is, again, have a good price point. I've gotten a couple of estimates back thus far that I really haven't been happy with. One that I'm very hopeful for, I should be getting back in the next couple of days. And I'll update status on that. I'm also going to do a fight. We have the Dempsey-Marciano rematch that we have to take care of. So I'll have probably some more news at that point then. And the options again are releasing both a PDF and a printed card version, or if, again, I can't establish that price point that I think is reasonable for a printed card version, just releasing that game via PDF. And the baseball game, obviously, again, well in the future, which we're going to talk about a little bit in this vlog, which I'm kind of going to go over the, I guess, the evolution of a or anatomy of designing a board game. So I'll go through the different steps I've gone through with the baseball game, and that's something, again, that's well down the road, and probably when I get to the point that I'm getting ready to release that, I'll go with a crowdfunding option, just due to the increased or the higher initial cost versus, say, this boxing game I'm working on. So that said, let's go and look at the cards for Glory Days Baseball and talk about that a little bit. All right, so on to the anatomy of, I guess, designing a board game. These of course are the Glory Days boxing cards, which, again, the action is determined by a position in the ring, and some fighters will fight outside better than they fight inside, vice versa, and the occurrences will be different depending on the fighter too. So if you've seen the videos on this, you know that basically the control, or the boxer who dictates or initiates the action in a round, is determined by these star ratings in different positions on a 1 through 6 die, and different positions in the ring as well. And you can see different fighters, depending on how good they are, have more stars than others. And you have fighters like poor Pedro Augusta, who is not very good at all, and he only has a couple. So that this same principle, and the reason I mention this, even though we're talking about baseball, is this is the principle or concept that I initially wanted to use when I designed a baseball game as well. And I was going to base that on pitch counts, and very similar to the boxing, depending on if the count was in the hitter's or pitcher's or batter's favor, or it was an even count, that would determine which result the card was read off of. In the end, I did not like that because it seemed a little bit too much 50-50 to me. And not that I have anything against 50-50. Again, there are a lot of fine games out there that use that concept. Of course, Strat-O-Matic, the, I guess, godfather of tabletop games, or baseball games at least. And Pursue the Pennant's another one. You know, and a number of baseball games use that 50-50 or similar concept. So what I wanted to do when I started designing, and I'll just zoom in here, is get away from that. So the next prototype I came up with is what you see here. And this had multiple dice being rolled. And we would first check against the batter's card to get a result. And based on two 1d10s. So it was based on the 100 format. And after that, a dice that was rolled with them, a 6-sided die, would use the last digit on the batter's card and then reference that on the pitcher's card. So as an example, Frank Chance here on the 1908 Cubs rolled a 28, and that would have been a single to center field versus a right-handed pitcher. You would then go to Joe McGinnity's card, and a 6-sided die would have been rolled with those two, and referenced that. If he had rolled a 2, that would have had no result here on McGinnity's card, and the batter's result would have stood, basically. If it had been a, say, a 43, which is a double to left field, and McGinnity had rolled a 23, that would have turned the hit into a pop out to the catcher. So that was a second prototype, and I did a video, a couple of videos kind of going over a breakdown of gameplay, and then I replayed the 1908 Merkle game between the Cubs and the Giants, and ironically I had to do that twice because, as in real life, the first one ended in a 9-inning tie. And, you know, the video, after I watched it, I just felt something was missing. You know, I did want the interaction. I liked the interaction, but it just didn't pop for me the way I thought it did. You know, and the results I were getting were very realistic. You know, no complaints there, but it just didn't flow the way I wanted it to. So that is what I've been spending a lot of my time on recently, is kind of looking at that concept of the baseball game. And again, what I'm going for is a good interaction between the batter and pitcher. And a lot of games do that. And these, again, are the old, or second prototype of Glory Days Baseball. A lot of games do that very well. Inside Pitch is an exceptional game based on the Dips engine that you will roll on a pitcher's card and then on the batter's card. Payoff Pitch is another good one where you develop, and it's, I guess, very similar to the initial prototype I had for this game, where it involved counts to an extent, and they're just named differently on in Payoff Pitch. It's tough, patient, wheelhouse, and in play. And where you roll on the hitter's card under each of those 4 areas, of course, is contingent on what is rolled on the pitcher's card. And I've got a ton of Payoff Pitch videos up, most notably the 1969 Fergie Jenkins replay is my current one, if you want to check out those if you're unfamiliar with the game, to see what I'm talking about. So I didn't want to, again, mimic either of those games. Obviously that is, well, plagiarism for one, but I wanted to get a similar effect. And the more I sat down and thought about this, I kind of thought back to, I remembered a game from, God, it's been out of print for probably 25 plus years, but it was around in the late 80s, early 90s, called Hot Corner Baseball. And one thing that game had that was unique, and I think is actually still unique to this day, is it established contact before you determined a result of the ball being put into play. And the more I thought about that, and I can't recall exactly how it works because, again, the game is out of print.
was a game I had, and that my copy is long gone, again, over 20 plus years ago. But I just remember that concept, so I thought about that concept in relation to what I wanted to do with the engine for Glory Days Baseball. And, you know, again, it was like an epiphany. Why not do a game and figure out a calculation, a formula where you incorporate contact into play prior to determining what the result of the ball put in play is? Because that's what baseball is. Pitcher pitches, and the batter swings and misses, or he swings and hits, or he takes a ball. So I've spent really honestly over the last 2 weeks, probably too many hours going over things, but I have finally redesigned the game engine. And again, the basic principle is the same. I have changed some of the calculations, and definitely had to change the weights between pitcher and batter. So here is where we are now, and I will show you. First of all, stadium comes into play, where you're playing in. Here's Yankee Stadium, and you can see different results on in the stadium window itself, depending on what type of action occurs, and we'll get into that. I'm going to kind of do a little demo, but let's look at the difference in the cards. So the hitters cards, I've first of all changed the metric so that both the pitcher and hitters cards are based on a 1d10 and a 6-sided die, so basically numbers from 10 to 69. And I did that, one, because it let me eliminate one of the die, and two, I think it just is quicker, and I was still able to get formulas and results I was comfortable with. So you see here on the old game, Thurman Munson's card, basically it was just you roll the 2d10, and you're also rolling a 20-sided die, which I'll explain, because that concept has remained in the new version of this game. And then you would also roll a 6-sided die. So basically I eliminated one of the 10-sided die, so now it's just a 6-sided, a 10-sided, and a 20-sided die to get the results. So exactly what you see here. And the difference in the gameplay is basically now you would roll these twice. First, you're looking to establish contact, which is done here versus a left and right-handed hitter. And you'll see there's results here that determine if a batter walks. And again, these are weighted, so it's easier to demonstrate that bringing out the old cards. So here is Nolan Ryan from 1978, new version, versus Nolan Ryan 1978, old version. So you can see on the old version, basically after you would get the result from the hitter's card, you would then look at the 1d6 and compare that to the one-digit 1d10, and you wouldn't re-roll anything. It would all be a single roll, and cross-reference that on the pitcher's card depending on the result that the batter got. So hit, you would look here, and out here, walk and K, etc. And there were also modifications for home runs. The way it works now is there's modifications for contact prior to the, or modifications for contact that are referenced in conjunction, with what you roll on the batter's card. So just as an example, Mickey Rivers is a left-handed batter, and against left-handed batters, Ryan is going to adjust their K range by 14. Obviously, and that's both right and lefty. And so going to Rivers' card against a right-handed pitcher, he would normally strike out on an initial roll of 30 to 33. That now becomes 30 to 47. So in rolling those dice, 49, that is outside of the adjusted K range, and what happens then is you have contact. So you would then go to the 20-sided die, and reference that against the contact ratings to see which card you got the result off of. So Rivers against right-handed pitching has a contact rating of 1 to 11, meaning a digit or a roll on the 20-sided die within that range means we'll get the result off Mickey's card. And a roll above that after the adjustment, and you see here against the left-handed batter, Nolan Ryan has a -2 to the contact rating, which would make that 1 to 9. So 5 is still within that adjusted range. So we would then do a second roll on Mickey Rivers' card and reference the result there. So 69, and that would be a line out to shortstop. And again, you roll the 20-sided die. That comes into play as a resolution dice when runners are on base. So that is the nuts and bolts of the new version of the game. And the results here are weighted very heavily. The results on the batter's card is based on their contact or average on contact. So it completely removes walks and strikeouts from that equation. And then it is weighted, and again, without going into too much detail on the formula, it's weighted to give the batter a much greater chance of getting a hit than should you roll for contact on the pitcher's card. So that is kind of the difference between the two cards. Things that are the same, the adjustment for home runs is the same. A little bit different now because home runs in the new version are also potentially on the, or deep shots are potentially on the pitcher's card, not all of them. But 20-sided die is still the same. And all the charts that go with the game are still the same. And the 20-sided die on contact is the activate or resolution die. And that basically will tell you what happens when a ball is put into play. Ground ball resolution, it determines whether or not it's a double play based on where it's hit. And, you know, common sense is going to tell you what happens on the base paths, but I also spell it out in the right-hand column here as well. It also has hit resolution on singles. It determines advancement, whether it's station to station, automatic 2 bases, or coach's choice. And a bunt and suicide squeeze and hit and run here. So those things are all the same in the initial version. The defensive checks are still the same, and when a defensive check comes up, and I'll get into that as we go through a demo here, you would go by the 1d20 to see if it's a range or error check, and then the number would tell you exactly what's going on. And this is just to add a little flavor to it, and also tells you what's going on if the fielder passes their run or error check. So no change to that. The rare play chart, minor changes here. Going to a, I guess a 60 possibility on the die rolls. I didn't want events or rare plays to overtake the game, so I had to one, you know, obviously change the ranges on the rare events to fit in the 10 to 69 range, and two, to allow more here, there used to be injury results on this chart, and I took those out and basically made them part of the initial determination whether it's a rare play or injury. So there, if you roll, get Nolan Ryan's card again. There, if you roll the event, which is 10, you would then reference the 20-sided die, which would always be rolled with the other two. And 1 to 9, we would then re-roll the 6 and 10-sided die on this chart and get the rare result. Or roll of 10 to 15, you would check for an injury to batter, or 16 to 20, check for an injury to the pitcher. And in basically deciding to do this, I looked at how many times injuries occurred. Again, I wanted to keep rare plays rare and not having potentially 2 or 3 a game, which I think is unrealistic. So here there's about less than 50% chance of having a rare play when that 10 result on the pitcher's card does come up, and a greater than 50% chance of getting an injury split pretty much evenly between pitcher and batter. So that was the main change there. All the events are pretty much the same. So that said, let's again look at some of these cards, and I wanted to bring out some, I guess, unique cards historically to show you the difference. So Lefty Grove against Nolan Ryan, and this is Lefty Grove's 1931 season where he was absolutely phenomenal. And probably even a better result is to get a, I guess, a more journeyman type pitcher. So we'll go, let's go Ed Figueroa. So Figgy from 1978 Yankees, you can see he was competent, 20-9 that year, 2.99 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, in a, you know, in the 70s type league, which was moderate offensive production, decent home run numbers. Grove, the numbers he put up, 31-4, a 2.06 ERA, and a 1.08 WHIP in an offensive dominated season, which was 1931. You know, probably started in 1929, but 1930 and 31 especially were just offense heavy. Offense dominated the game there. And for Grove to put up the numbers he did in that, I guess, environment are absolutely phenomenal. So you can see the difference between a great pitcher and a good or average pitcher. First of all, Figueroa, not a big strikeout guy. In fact, he actually reduces the chances of a strikeout when you roll to check for contact. Decent control against righties. He'll reduce the base of ball range at 1. Not so much against lefties. He'll add 1 to that. Grove is phenomenal. Again, not a massive strikeout pitcher compared to some pitchers of today, and the game is less contact today. But for that time period, a great strikeout pitcher. So he's going to add 8 and 5 respectively to lefties and righties in the strikeout department. Good control, and will reduce the walk range by 1. If there is contact determined, or if there's no walk or no strikeout, I should say, you would then apply the contact adjustments, and you can see the difference. Figueroa against right-handers is going to reduce their contact range by 1. Lefties 2. Grove will be -5 against righties and -4 against lefties. So that basically kind of demonstrates the impact of how these ratings come into play in the game and how the interaction between pitcher and batter goes. Let's bring Nolan Ryan back out. Now Nolan, and we'll compare him to Lefty again. Now Nolan, huge strikeout adjustments against both lefties and righties. I mean, that's really as good as it gets. But he also adds walks to those ranges too. So the chance of a non-contact at bat is much greater with Nolan Ryan. Ron Guidry, who had a season that's comparable to Grove in 1978, when you compare his season and the norm of the era, Guidry 25-3, 1.74 ERA, 0.95 WHIP. So very similar numbers. He adjusts contact by 3 against a righty and 4 against a lefty, as Grove does. Adds 6 and 10 to strikeouts respectively, and does not affect the base on balls in either case. So just again an overview of the new cards, and let's look at a couple of hitters cards too. So we'll bring we'll bring Willie Randolph out. We won't keep picking on Mickey Rivers. So compare, this is Ty Cobb's 1911 season. And this card is absolutely monster. It's a murderous card. Cobb hit .420 that year, had a 4.67 on-base percentage, 8 home runs, 127 ribs. Randolph solid, 278 or 279, 3 home runs, a 381 on-base percentage. But you can see the difference. Cobb, even though he does not have a lot of non-contact results, and non-contact results do influence this number, by the way. He hit so well that year that his contact ratings are off the hook. 1-16 versus a righty, 1-13. Randolph, more of an average hitter, 1-11 versus a lefty, and 1-9 versus a righty. And these ratings are all computed again based on how the batter does on contact against righties and lefties. Splits are taken into account. So those are two contact hitters. Let's look at power hitters. So we'll get Reggie Jackson here again from the 78 Yanks and compare him to another monster season, Babe Ruth's 27 season with the Yankees. So on these cards, you see Jackson 274, 27, and 97 were his numbers in 1978. 3.56 on base percentage. But he strikes out more than Ruth. He does have good contact ratings because when he does get a hold of the ball, he usually does something good with it. But just looking at the ranges, Ruth struck out a lot, but still really not that much compared to some modern day players. 30 to 42 base range for Reggie against lefties, 30 to 37 for the Babe, 30 to 38 against righties, and 30 to 34. Ruth's walk ratings are off the chart. This is as good as you'll see. 10 to 20 against lefties compared to 10 to 12 for Reggie, and righties 10 to 18 versus 10 to 15. So you can see now how the results come into play here. So against going against Nolan Ryan, who is a plus 14, Reggie would strike out on a roll of 30 to 52. So hence the higher contact numbers here, because when he does put the ball in play, he's going to hit for a higher average than, say, a Willie Randolph, who does not strike out or walk as much. So that's the basic, I guess, concept of the game. And I do, in this prototype, have two full teams rated, and they are, you already know one of them, the 1978 Yankees. And what better companion team than the 1978 Red Sox? So I'm going to do a video where I actually do a playthrough of this this game and let you see how the mechanics work. I've done, again, quite a bit of testing offline, and I think I'm at a point where I'm getting comfortable and happy with the results. And what we'll do is we'll just do a quick preview, a little demo, and I'll slowly walk through at-bat scenario and go through basically an inning for both teams. And then again, we will leave the full game to a separate video. So we'll get that set up. 1 second. All right, so we have the 78 Yankees against 78 Red Sox, and again, I'm going to, I think, probably replay either the Bucky Dent game with these two teams, or maybe do a 3-game series as a tip of the cap to my buddy Al, Red Sox fan, since he obviously a big Red Sox fan, and 78 was as great a season as you will have in baseball between these two rivals. So this basic setup, again, the stadium card comes into play if a park result comes up on the hitter's card when you swing for contact. Basic columns are the same, going through the batter's results or ratings. Bunt, 0 to 9, 9 been best. Jerry Remy, excellent bunter. Hit and run, and these are all, again, 0 to 9. 5 for Remy. Mickey Rivers a little better as a 6. Run rating, again, 0 to 9. This comes into play when advancing an extra base on a coach's choice play. The jump rating determines the, well, if you get a good jump on a steal attempt. And then the steal rating, let me back up. The jump rating is also modified by the pitcher's hold rating. So here, Guidry -2 would modify Remy's jump rating to 3 if he tried to steal. And hold ratings go from +2 to -2. The majority of pitchers are 0 there. If you get a successful jump, 6 would be the number that you would need to roll on the 1d10 to have a successful steal. And again, 0 to 9. So 6 or lower would be successful. And then the number in parentheses, and you'll see here, is the number that you would have to roll if you did not get a good jump. Now this steal number is also modified by the catcher's arm, and catcher's arms are -1, 0, or +1. Injury ratings, self-explanatory, a roll of 2 or less. If an injury possibility comes up on the event chart, which I showed you earlier, this one, that will determine if an injury takes place, and then there's another chart to determine how long the batter or pitcher is out. Double play adjustment, and there is a standard range for double plays on the resolution chart, and I'll show you here. And I'm sorry, that's the wrong chart. I'll show you here. So ground ball, we'll just say shortstop or second base. A normal double play roll would be 1 to 14 on the 1d20 resolution die. Remy is a -1, so it would make his 1 to 13. So just batters who have a tendency to beat out a double play. Arm rating comes into play for catchers and outfielders. Most of the ratings are 0. Good arms are -1 in terms of outfielders. A few rare outfielders have a -2. And bad arms get a +1. And extremely bad arms, which I haven't rated any of those yet, get a +2. And catchers, again, are -1, 0, or +1. The range tables, if a range result comes up, and again, that is referencing the defensive chart. And the defense check comes into play. Any roll of 60 to 67 when you're checking contact here becomes a defensive check on the end result. So as an example, we roll on Remy's card. It's a 65, which is obviously not a walk or strikeout. But 65 is within this range, so on the next roll, you would also check for an error. So in that case, if, say, Remy loses the contact battle with Guidry because they're both left-handers, and he would have to get 1 or 6 on that first roll to have the contact come on his card. You would then look at Guidry's card and just say the result was a G4. You would then use the 1d20 to roll reference whether it was a range check or error check based on this number. And error numbers, again, 3 or less would be an error for Remy. Some of the other numbers, again here, walks, strikeouts, hit by pitch, 68, 69 is always a check for a potential wild result, which would be wild pitch, which pitchers are rated for here. Balk, Guidry does not have any of those. Or a passed ball, which is off of the catcher's card. And looking at Thurman Munson, who actually was not a stellar defensive catcher. Passed balls will either be 19 or 18 and 19 for very poor catchers, and Munson is one of those. 18 and 19 would be a pass ball on the 1d20. So I know definitely will make a lot better sense as we do some brief gameplay, but just wanted to go through the ratings. The power ratings on deep shots, the 1d20 is referenced against the pitcher's adjustment. So if a batter comes up with a deep result, you would check here if the 1d20 that you roll with the other 2 dice is 1 to 3, it would turn that into a long fly out. If it's 3 to 20, it goes out over the fence. And then up here you see a POW and then 2 other numbers. There will occasionally be batters that will have a deep result, and Jerry Remy is one of them, in parentheses. And in that case, if he gets that deep result because he does not hit a lot of home runs, and you would then go with this number here on the pitcher's card to turn it into a long fly. So if Remy gets a deep ball on a 65, Guidry, you would add 8 to this rating here, so 1 to 11, Guidry would turn that into a long fly out. So those are the basic ratings. Pitcher's cards, the events come off the pitcher's card. basically the results are pretty similar on both cards in terms of outcome of play. A couple of differences based on the pitcher's card versus the hitter's, but that gives you the result of the play. And again, weighted heavily that if contact comes off the batter's card, it's going to be a hit, and if it comes off the pitcher's card, it will very rarely be a hit. So let's just go through and we'll do a quick demo of 1 inning for each. And then, like I said, I will replay an entire game between these two teams later, just as kind of an alpha preview and to get thoughts and comments on the game. So Red Sox leading off, Jerry Remy is up. And I'll go through this again very slowly. And right off the bat, we get a potential event. So we're going to check the event chart, and we use that 11, or that 1d20, and a roll of 11 is within 10 to 15, so that comes as an injury check to the batter. So Remy has an injury rating of 2. To resolve that, we would simply roll the 1d10, and 1, he is hurt. So you would then determine the type of injury and how long he missed, and that would be it for him this game. So we got that out of the way really quick. So we're not going to do that, so we'll just re-roll that. That just gives you an idea of how it works. So 26, and you will check on Remy's card. Pretty much anything in the 20s, 40s, or 50s is going to be contact. High teens to, again, maybe high 30s up to 68 will be contact. So 26, that's going to be contact. 4, now look at Remy's card, and again, he's normally a 10 versus lefties, but against left-handed batters, Guidry reduces that by 4, so it's 1 to 6. 4 is still within that range. So we will then roll on Remy's card and a 50 against a left-handed batter, and that is going to be a double to center field. So Remy leads off the contest with a double. He's on second base. And designated hitter Carl Yastrzemski in the twilight of his career. And since Remy is on, we're going to go ahead and show you how the steal interaction works. So determine the steal. Again, jump is 1 to 5. Guidry modifies that by 2. And he rolls a 3, so he gets a successful jump, and he's going to go ahead and steal. Needs a 1 to 6 to be safe. Munson's arm is a 0, so no adjustment. And Remy, if he was stealing second, that would have been the result, and stealing third, you reduce this by 1, and he still would be safe there. So that's just the steal mechanic. As it is, we will leave Remy at second base and let Yastrzemski hit. So 48, and again, you check on Yaz's card, and that is going to be contact in 3, and again, a left-handed batter. Now Yaz against lefties is 1 to 9, and Guidry reduces that to 1 to 5, but the dice are in the Red Sox favor today. So it's going to go off Yastrzemski's card, and an 18 versus a lefty is a single to center. Excuse me. The resolution die is a 10. You would then simply check the chart here, lead runner on second base, or runner on second base for hit resolution. And again, that is a single to center field. So on a single to center, runner on second, 1 to 7, he would go station to station. 8 to 10, which this is a 10, it would be a coach's choice. And 11 to 20, he would automatically go 2 bases. So this is coach's choice, and we are going to try and make a play. Now again, Remy has a run rating of 7, and Mickey Rivers, who is in center field, has an arm of -1. So that would be 1 to 6 to be safe at the plate. Simple as that. Roll it, and he is in under the tag. So the Red Sox score a run, 1-0, runner on first, and Fred Lynn up. Third successive lefty against Guidry, and the first two give him trouble. So here we go, 24, and again we're going to have contact. and a roll of 6. Now Lynn is only 1 to 8 against lefties, and of course Guidry has that 4 adjustment, so that would normally be good, but this makes it 1 to 4, so contact is going to come off of Guidry's card, and you will notice it is much more heavily weighted in Guidry's favor. So 27 off Guidry's card versus a left-handed batter is a ground ball to second base. You then again check the resolution dice to see if we have a double play. And ground ball resolution, first base occupied. And you will see here 1 to 14 is a double play, and again no adjustment, or a -1 adjustment on the double play for Lynn. So 1 to 13 would be a double play, and 14 to 17 would be fielder's choice. So 16 is within that range. Fielder's choice, out at second, batter safe, runner on third scores if that is the case. Again here, no runner on second or third, so that simply becomes a fielder's choice, 1 out. Fred Lynn is at first base, and Jim Rice is up. Rice, 1 to 13 contact rating against lefties, and Guidry's a -3 against righties, so 1 to 10 if you have contact. 18, and 18 versus left-hander, normally you'd look for a walk in anything that starts with a multiplier of 10. Not the case here. He's going to get contact. However, 20, even with his stellar rating, 20 is going to go off Guidry's card. So we would then roll contact off Guidry's card, and 38 versus the right-handed batter. And that's going to be a ground ball down to first base, and 13. And again, on the double play rating, Rice is actually easy to double up. So a ground ball to first base, 1 to 11 is normally a double play. His adjustment makes it 1 to 12. And 12, oh, I'm sorry, in a roll of 13, unfortunately is above that. So this will be another fielder's choice. So Chambliss whips that down to Dent, but they're only able to force Lynn. So Rice on first, 2 down. Dwight Evans on at the plate, and 1 run is in for the Sox. 41, and finally we might have a result on the, or no contact result here. So 30 to 39 is Dwight Evans' normal K number range. And against a right-handed batter, Guidry, very successful with that biting slider, so he is a +10, makes him 30 to 49, and 41 is going to be a strikeout, so Dwight Evans is retired, and the inning is over. The top of the first is over. So Sox, a couple of hits, and they score a run, and the Yankees will come up in the bottom of the first. Dennis Eckersley on the mound. He is a -1 contact adjustment versus lefties, -2 versus righties. Mickey Rivers up. So again, going off Rivers' card, and 64, and you'll notice here on the stadium card, 64 to 67 defensive check on the roll for contact. So obviously we have no strikeout. The contact roll is going to come off of Rivers' card because he rolled a 2. And against righties, adjusted would be a 10, so obviously within that range. So we roll on Rivers' card, and we get this result, plus we will do an error check. And this is one of the less likely results, a out, so it's a ground ball down to second base. Now, Jerry Remy, so what we'll do there is get out the defensive chart. 19 is a roll on the resolution die, so 19 is an error check, so it's a ground ball to Remy. And it tells you, I'm glad this is a prototype, I spelled throw wrong. So throw pulls first baseman off the bag, batter safe, runners advance 1, or ground into double play if first base occupied. So really here we just need to see if Remy is going to pull George Scott off the bag. And Remy is a solid defender overall. He is a 3. So 3 or less is an error, above 3, and Rivers will be out. And 3, he does indeed pull George Scott off the bag, so the Mick is safe at first. E4 brings up Willie Randolph. And 51, that is going to be a contact check, and 13. So again, versus a right-handed hitter, Eck is -2. Randolph, not very good against righties anyway, just average, 1 to 9. So 13 is going to go off Eckersley's card. And contact against the right-handed batter at 56, and that is going to be a fly out to left field. And runner will hold. We don't normally you would use this to see if a runner advances if they're on second, third. Obviously, Remy is not going to tag, or Rivers not going to tag and try and go to second. So 1 down. Sweet Lou Piniella up now. And 62 will be a contact result, and 12. Now, Piniella is an 11 against right-handers, but Eckersley's adjustment, I should have picked a pitcher named Smith for this demo, God, takes it to 9. And so the contact result will come off X card. And again, I'm going real slow. It really doesn't take this long to play the game. This actually, and that's another thing I like, I have high hopes for this version, this prototype version, and think it will be the final one because, one, it does flow a lot better, and obviously I'm going super slow, but it does flow a lot better. It goes a little bit quicker, and I just like the interaction so much more where you have to first establish if contact even occurs before you can determine the end result. So anywho, 26 on X card against a right-handed batter. That's going to be a ground ball to shortstop, and an 8. I'll show you. It's going to be a double play, but I'll show you anyway. So ground ball to short, and Piniella is a 0 on the double play adjustment. So 1 to 14 would be the double play, which it is an 8. So 6-4-3, and that is the bottom of the first inning. So the Yankees, no hits, no runs, 1 error by the Sox, and that is a sample inning of the latest prototype of version 3 of Glory Days Baseball. And again, this is one that I am really high on. I like the second one. It just didn't have that pop. And thus far during testing, and we'll see how it looks when I do a full game, but thus far this kind of has that pop I was looking for and the good interaction. So that is a 1-inning demo, and again, these two teams will meet for real. And again, haven't decided if I'm going to do the Bucky Dent game or if I might do a 3-game series. Probably we'll just do the Bucky Dent game, you know, and maybe more. Maybe replay the '78 World Series. I would have to rate the Dodgers, but that's something we could do as well. Or again, play like a 3 or 4 game series between these two teams. Just to get some video play up and give me a chance to, I guess, further evaluate how the game looks and plays and also get feedback. But that is it for now. Didn't mean for this to turn into such a lengthy video, but again, coming up, and I got a notification from Earl at Tabletop Baseball Plus. He has a beta version of Glory Days Boxing. Like I said, I had a giveaway contest, and Alan Shaw has been sending me results of his tournament. But Al, Red Sox fan, and Earl at Tabletop Baseball Plus also received a beta copy of the game to basically do videos on and give their thoughts. I've already got some feedback from Earl, but that video will be coming up. So thank you to both of them for highlighting Glory Days Boxing and putting it on the channel, and definitely offering feedback as well. So hopefully, I believe that is set to broadcast. I got a notification it's set to go, and I believe it'll go tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern time. So yeah, give that a look as well on Tabletop Baseball Plus if you subscribe to that channel. If you don't, subscribe to it. It's great stuff. Earl and Earl, a lot of baseball. Boxing. Earl has also played Title Bout, and the other Earl plays History Maker Golf, Strat, my voice is cracking, football. Does basically, they cover pretty much almost every sport there is on that channel, so support them. Al, Red Sox fan too. If you're not a subscriber or a fan of his channel, definitely give it a look. One of the best YouTube commentators out there in the tabletop gaming genre. along with so many others. Higher Ground Gaming, Strat-O-Matic Delaware, Chris there, Dave at Baseball Demos. Higher Ground Gaming, as I mentioned, with Eric, Clinton Parks, and ID Gesture does a lot of stuff, board games to video games, and he's actually turned me on to some new games I didn't even know existed. So yeah, check all those guys out, and we will be back. Next video on the channel, I know Juan Redmond had requested another game in the Tottenham replay, so we'll get that going next. And then this 78 game also have the Dempsey Marciano Glory Days boxing rematch. So as always, thanks for watching, and please feel free to leave any comments or anything you'd like to see. And until next time, keep rolling for those fences, and we will see you.